want to remind you of a technique you've already learned. We know that great writers help the reader really imagine the action, to really imagine that the events in the story are unfolding right there before their eyes. And they do this through writing with dialogue, very small actions of the character, and descriptive details. What we want to do is really explode the moment. Today, when you write the rising action, and then tomorrow, when you get to the climax, you're going to use this technique to really explode the moment. I'm going to write the rising action of the story we started about Sarah going babysitting. In the inciting action, her mom drops her off at the Jensen's house on the night of the job. And in the rising action, the girls are fighting when she arrives. Mrs. Jensen gives instructions to Sarah, and Sarah starts to make dinner. Those are the beginning actions. So, as I write that, what I don't want to see is something that looks like this. As I went up to the front door, I told my mom to call me if I needed anything. I told her I'd be fine. I knocked on the door and Mrs. Jensen opened it and greeted me. I could hear kids fighting in the background. One voice shouted that the other girl was trying to take her pink unicorn. The writer here has listed the events. Her mom saying she can call her if she needs to, Sarah saying she'll be fine, Mrs. Jensen opening the door, and the kids fighting in the background. But I don't hear any of the actual words or the dialogue. So when you say my mom told me to call her, I want to hear what the mom actually says. When Sarah says, I told her I'd be fine, that's indirect speech. What are Sarah's exact words back? Mrs. Jensen greeted her. Well, what did she say? And when she hear kids fighting, what were they saying? What did that sound like? Instead of saying one girl shouted that the other girl was trying to take her pink unicorn, I'm looking to get the exact words that happen. Today, as you write the rising action, I don't want you to summarize or list the events. I want you to explode the moment with dialogue, small actions, and descriptive details. Let's look at how that might go. I could write it like this. As we reach the Jensens, my mother reminds me to call her if I need anything. Toddlers are tough, you know, my mother warns. They can really get into a lot of trouble. I shrug at her offer and think, how hard can it be? I knock on the door and put on my best, I'm a responsible 12-year-old face. I hear a muffled crash from inside. Then the door swings open and Mrs. Jensen, elegantly dressed in an evening gown, says, Hi, Sarah. It's so nice to meet. Mom, where's my pink unicorn? A small but loud voice interrupts from the other room. Mrs. Jensen barely opens her mouth when a sudden loud shriek sounds from the same room. Mom, she's trying to take Mr. Tinky. The writer has helped the reader to really imagine the action by using dialogue, by using the exact words that the characters in the story said. They're highlighted in green. We've also added some descriptive details, what things sound like, look like. And finally, we have lots and lots of very small actions. I shrug, I knock, door swings open, a voice interrupts, Mrs. Jensen barely opens her mouth. You've seen another really good example of this recently. When we read Fear, the author didn't just say that Zoe was home alone hanging out eating ice cream and watching videos, and suddenly he heard a sound, and he thinks to himself that someone's trying to break in. No. Instead of listing the events, the author gives us lots and lots of descriptive details. There's not a lot of dialogue because Zoe's alone, but look at all these details. He gets a bowl of ice cream and sits down on the couch. An older video is playing. As he lifts a soup spoon of ice cream toward his mouth, a big bite of Rocky Road, Zoe suddenly hears something. It's a very distinctive sound, and he recognizes it instantly. Somebody outside is messing with the window in the spare bedroom at the back of the house, the room that his mother uses for sewing. All those details add suspense and make us feel like the story is unfolding right before our eyes. So Ravens, today here's your job. You should have several beginnings of your story that you wrote last week. several expositions. Today you're going to start with your inciting moment, your inciting action, and write your rising action. Your bonus here is to start using paragraphing in your drafting. Look at your independent reading book and look at this narrative that we were just writing. Notice how short each paragraph is. We've learned that there's a new paragraph every time the speaker switches in dialogue. But in narrative, anytime anything changes, a new person taking a turn acting, a new location, even a small difference, we're in the hallway, then we're in the kitchen, then we're in the living room. Each one of those new places is a new paragraph. Every time there's a gap in time, even a small one, a new paragraph. Think in a movie how many times the camera angle switches. Anytime this would occur, you can have a new paragraph. Look how many paragraphs we have here. First we have Sarah's mom is talking, then it's Sarah's turn, and that's before they reach the front door, and now they're at the front door. Several things happen. Then there's a new speaker, one of the children speaks. Then we're back to Mrs. Jensen. Then we've got a new speaker again. Each time is a new paragraph. So Ravens, go ahead and write this rising action right here, and I look forward to reading it.